It's a very good afternoon and welcome to the ICU TV's Lunchtime Bulletin. Stories making headlines this afternoon. Alternative mining in Indaba continues in Cape Town, South Africa. ECL's son forfeits 24 million kwacha worth of assets to the state. ZRDC champions mental health and calls for national action. In international news, we have Eritrea hits back at its neighbor, Ethiopia, and describes troop accusations as force. Well, in sports news, Nkana maintains a title push with hard fought back to win Napsa Stars. More details coming up shortly. Thank you so much for joining us, and with the details, I am Mishek Injakwa Edgars. The alternative mining in Indaba continues in Cape Town, South Africa, with calls for greater accountability and stronger community participation in the mining sector. Now, our reporter Miriam Deborah Gamani is continuing to give us live coverage this evening at our 20 hours news bulletin. In other news, the former President Edgar Lungu's son, Daliso Lungu, has forfeited properties worth 24 million kwacha to the state after the Lusaka High Court's Economic and Financial Crimes Court ruled that the assets were proceeds of crime. The forfeited assets include over 69 motor vehicles and 23 parcels of land located in various parts of the country. In its judgment, the court reviewed that the investigations to Mr. Lungu's financial affairs established that he failed to comply with the Zambia Revenue Authority ZRA tax requirements return, including the submission of new returns. The court noted that this indicated the absence of unidentified income from the employment of business activities that could lawfully justify the acquisition of the properties. The court further held that the funds used to purchase the assets were reasonably suspected to have been obtained through unlawful activities, including money laundering and tax evasion. It concluded that the failure to establish legitimate sources of income capable of financing the acquisition of rendered the properties tainted and therefore classified them as proceeds of crime. Consequently, the court ordered that the assets be forfeited to the state and disposed of or applied in accordance with the law as directed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. The non-conviction-based forfeiture application was filed by the Director of Public Prosecutions, Gilbert Piri. The Zambia Research and Development Center, ZRDC, on the 8th of February, attended the official launch of the Beyond Darkness book launch that calls for honest, compassionate conversations around mental health in Zambia. During the launch, the ZRDC programs manager, Mr. Knox Kasongo, delivered a keynote address that challenged stigma, highlighted the realities of mental health distress, and called for leaders, institutions to place mental health well-being at the center of national development. Speaking through a compelling personal narrative and evidence-based insights, Mr. Kasongo emphasized that mental health is not a side issue, but a foundation for resilient communities, effective institutions, and sustainable development. He urged policymakers, employers, and educators and community leaders to move beyond silence and build systems of care, inclusion, and psychological safety. Two more witnesses have testified in the matter within an incarcerated Kabwe businessman, with two others facing charges of bringing a law enforcement officers with a sum of 10,000 kwacha to discontinue investigations. It is alleged that Movita, who was facing criminal charges in the Kabwe magistrate, was arrested by the Anti-Corruption Commission at a named lodge in Kabwe while he's trying to induce an officer, Oswald Slungwe, who was dealing with his case. This is in a matter of the people versus Kelvin Movita, Mobukwano Maliwa, and Kenny Mutukulwa, who are charged with 2 counts each, corrupt practices with public officers. Particulars of the offense were that Kelvin Movita, Mobukwano Maliwa, and Kenny Mutakulwa on a date unknown but between 1st and 31st of July 2024 in Kabwe district, jointly and while acting together, did corruptly give Chief Inspector Oswald Slungwe, a public officer under the Zambia Police Service Division, a sum of 10,000 kwacha cash gratification as inducement to discontinue investigations against Kelvin Movita and withdraw a criminal matter where he was accused. The inducement was also meant for the officer to retain the seized motor vehicles and cash amounting to 488,200 kwacha, a matter that concerned Zambia Police, a public body. Now this story brings us to our very first sets of commercials, and still to come is international and sports news. Stay tuned.
We kickstart your day with our headline pick with the top stories making news.
Then we go deeper in our story pick where we break down issues that matter the most to you.
From the Health Desk, we share simple tips to keep you healthy and informed.
For Classic Fitness Minute to get your body moving before the day begins.
And trending now, what's hot on social media?
Hello Zambia, my name is Amina Mutambo.
And I am Moluwa Eric J. Mwalamajende, and we bring to your screens the ICU TV Breakfast Show.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to ICU TV's Lunchtime News. In international news, Eritrea has hit back at its neighbor Ethiopia and describing accusations that its troops were on Ethiopian territory as force. On Saturday, a letter sent from Ethiopia's foreign minister to its Eritrean counterpart demanded that the soldiers withdraw. It also accused Eritrea of outright aggression, saying it was conducting a joint maneuvers with Ethiopian, rebels in the north and supplying them with weapons. In its response, Eritrea said this was part of the spiral of hostile campaigns against Eritrea for more than 2 years. There was a long been a history of tension between Ethiopia and Eritrea, which split from off its larger neighbor 3 decades ago, and there are fears of renewed conflicts. The countries fought a border war between 1998 and 2000 in which more than 100,000 people died. A peace deal was never fully implemented, and relations only eased after Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who later won the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts, traveled to the Eritrean capital, Asmara, in 2018. The two had been allies in Ethiopia's recent civil war between when Eritrea supported its army against the Tigrayan forces, but things above once again are sourced. And we'll come to another break, and upcoming is sports news. Stay tuned.
The Information and Communications University is driving the thrill for the nation in research and development. Enroll now for full-time and distance programs in the School of Engineering, Humanities, Business and Education. To apply, visit our website at www.icuzambia.net or call us on +260 211 221 662 or 0966 342 359. Sponsorship is available. Enroll now.
And in sports news, Nkana Football Club kept their title ambitions alive after edging Napsa Stars 1-0 in a closely contested MTN Super League encounter played on Saturday afternoon. The Quito Giants showed resilience and discipline in a match that saw both sides create chances but struggle to convert in the final third. The decisive moment came in the 68th minute when Nkana's forward capitalized on a defensive lapse to slot home after winning a goal, sending travelling supporters into celebration. Napsa Stars pushed for an equalizer in the closing stages, applying pressure and forcing Nkana to defend deep, but the Kalampa boys held firm to secure all the 3 points. Nkana head coach praised his players for their character and tactical discipline, noting that the victory was crucial as the league enters a decisive phase. Meanwhile, Napsa Stars were left to rue missed opportunities, with their coach insisting that the team will work on improving their fishing ahead of the next fixture. The result keeps Nkana firmly in the top half of the table, strengthening their push for a strong finish to the season, while Napsa Stars remain mid-table as the league campaign continues. This sports item brings us to the very end of this afternoon's bulletin. Join me for headlines on the other side. Well, that sports item brings us to the very end of this afternoon's news bulletin. But before we let you go, here's a quick recap of the headlines. Alternative Indaba continues in Cape Town, South Africa. ECL's son forfeits 24 million kwacha worth of assets to the state. ZRDC champions mental health and calls for national actions. And in international news, we have Eritrea hits back at its neighbor Ethiopia, describing troop accusations as force. And finally, in sports news, Nkana maintains a title push with hard-fought win over Napsa Stars. This has been the news on ICU TV, and indeed, on behalf of the entire ICU TV crew, I have been Mishek Njakwa Edgar. See you this evening for our main news bulletin. Good afternoon.